on Article 15, Prohibition of Discrimination. Now, Part 3 of the Constitution of India is titled Fundamental Rights, and it comprises Article 12 to Article 35. Of these, Articles 14 to 18 together comprise the right to equality. To understand the real meaning and nature of Article 15, we must take a look at the preamble, which really lays down the foundation of equality. The preamble expresses the ideal of equality of status and of opportunity that is to be secured to all citizens, and indeed, Articles 14 to 18 go about implementing this ideal. In fact, Article 15 gives manifestation to this ideal of securing social equality. Article 15 title reads Prohibition of Discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Indeed, it is necessary that we take a look at the relationship of Article 15 with Article 14. Article 14 lays down the general principle of equality. On the other hand, Article 15 provides for the concomitant to equality, the principle of non-discrimination, and indeed lays it down in great detail. Article 14 applies to all persons, whereas Article 15 applies only to citizens. Let's now take a closer look into Article 15. Article 15 comprises of 5 clauses. Let's begin by looking at the first clause. Article 15 Clause 1 states, "The state shall not discriminate against any citizen on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth, or any of them." Thus, it clearly lays down that discrimination is absolutely prohibited, and there can be no discrimination against any citizen of India on these 5 grounds, which are the same as were mentioned in the title of Article 15. Moving ahead, Article 15, Clause 2 states, "No citizen shall, on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them, be subject to any disability, liability, restriction, or condition with regard to access to shops, public restaurants, hotels, and places of public entertainment, as well as the use of wells, tanks, bathing ghats, roads, and places of public resort maintained wholly or partly out of state funds or dedicated to the use of the general public." So Article 15 Clause 2 really lays down specific situations of disability as historically experienced in India. Discrimination practiced in public places with regard to public resources is completely and absolutely prohibited. Furthermore, this article clearly lays down that all such public places which are run fully or partly through the state, including private enterprises, as long as they are meant for public use, have to be open to all sections of the public. Let's move on to the third clause of Article 15. Article 15, Clause 3, it states that nothing in this article shall prevent the state from making any special provision for women and children. This is a very important clause and the source of various laws that concern specific women issues or children issues. In fact, this provision lays down the ground for making special provision, or what is also known as positive discrimination, in keeping with the doctrine of equal treatment in equal circumstances which we discussed in Article 15. It accepts that women and children must be safeguarded and adequate measures must be taken for their advancement and welfare. Article 15 Clause 4 provides another instance of positive discrimination. It says, nothing in this article or in Clause 2 of Article 29 shall prevent the state from making any special provision for the advancement of any socially and educationally backward classes of citizens or for the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes. Thus, Article 15 Clause 4 identifies 3 sections of socially and educationally backward classes of citizens, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, and states that the government shall take every necessary measure for the advancement of these sections in society. It is to be noted that Article 15 Clause 4 was added through the first amendment to the Constitution in 1951. Moving ahead, the same 3 groups identified under this clause will be extended protection in the 5th and the final clause of Article 15. Article 15 Clause 5. It says that nothing in this article or in subclause G of Clause 1 of Article 19 shall prevent the state from making any special provision by law for the advancement of any socially and educationally backward class of citizens or for the scheduled caste or the scheduled tribes in so far as such special provisions relate to their admission to educational institutions, including private educational institutions, whether aided or unaided by the state, other than the minority educational institutions referred to in Clause 1 of Article 30. The 5th clause of Article 15 provides protection to the same 3 groups that were identified in the previous clause of Article 15 Clause 4. However, here the protection that is offered is in the specific area of admission to educational institutions. Hence, Article 15 Clause 5 provides that the government can make special provisions for these 3 sections in the specific matter of admission to educational institutions. The reservation of seats in all schools, colleges or universities or even other academic institutions is an example in this matter. It is to be noted that such special reservation extends to even the private educational institutions that may or may not receive government support. However, the same protection does not extend to minority educational institutions. Thus, these are the first 5 clauses of Article 15. Of them, remember that Article 15 Clause 5 has also been instituted by amendment, and precisely the 93rd Amendment of 2005 instituted Article 15 Clause 5 with regard to protection of the weaker sections of the socially and educationally backward classes, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in 2 educational institutions. Thus, if we look at Article 15, once again, we realize that the first 2 clauses, that is Article 15(1) and Article 15 Clause 2, talk about non-discrimination in a general sense, as well as in the senses of public usage of public resources. Article 15 Clause 3, 4 and 5, that are the subsequent 3 clauses under Article 15, provide for affirmative action or special provision. The special provisions here are made for women and children under 15 Clause 3 and for the socially and educationally backward classes under 15 Clause 4 and 15 Clauses 5. However, 15 Clauses 5 extends that protection in the matter of admission to educational institutions of these 3 sections. Taking a final look at Article 15, Article 15 embodies the ideal of social equality. It does two things really. It ensures that there is non-discrimination through equal access of all persons to all public places. And it therefore identifies the 5 unique categories of discrimination which have been historically practiced in India of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. On the other hand, Article 15 makes special provisions or affirmative action promise is made for the women and children as well as for socially or educationally backward classes and the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. These two-pronged approach perhaps is in keeping with what was a remark made by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in his speech to the Constituent Assembly on November 25, 1949, where he had said, on the 26th of January 1950, we are going to enter into a life of contradictions. In politics, we will have equality, and in social and economic life, we will have inequality. It was to address this apprehension that Article 15 was made through the Constitution.